I woke up knowing exactly how the day would end, not in some vague, anxious way. I knew it in excruciating detail. I knew the crack in the ceiling above my bed would widen just a little bit by the afternoon. I knew my neighbor would drop his keys, the metallic jingle echoing in the hallway at precisely 3:12 p.m. And I knew that at 9:06 p.m., someone would die in my apartment. The only part missing, the only cruel blank space in this pre-written tragedy, was who. The morning was a perfect, horrifying replica. Every sound, every word of a conversation I overheard landed exactly where it was supposed to. It was like the entire world was reading from a script that I had already memorized against my will. The day before, and the day before that, and the day before that, I tried to fight it. I really did. I tried changing the variables. I stayed in bed for an extra hour, willing the timeline to shift, but it didn't. The day just compressed itself to catch up. I skipped work, a rebellious act that felt completely hollow because I knew it wouldn't matter. The results were always the same, desperate. I left my apartment entirely. I just walked. I wandered through the city until my feet were raw and my mind was numb, trying to outrun a destiny that was tethered to a specific time and place. But you can't outrun a clock. At 8:59 p.m., my phone vibrated in my pocket. The screen lit up with a simple, chilling message. Reminder. Be home. I hadn't said it. I never said it. A cold dread tightened its grip around my chest. I was standing on the sidewalk, staring up at my apartment building across the street, a beacon of my own doom. I knew what was waiting for me inside. I knew the sequence. At 9:03 p.m., the lights in my living room would flicker. Once, twice. At 9:04, I'd hear the faint sound of footsteps behind me. At 9:05, I'd finally give in and turn around. And at 9:06, someone's life would be extinguished. Despite every cell in my body screaming at me to run, to just keep walking and never look back, I crossed the street. I had to. It was part of the script. The front door to my apartment was unlocked. Of course it was. It always was. On this night, I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The click of the latch sounding like a death sentence. The air was thick and silent. I stood in the middle of my living room, my heart hammering against my ribs. And then, right on schedule, the lights flickered. My phone buzzed again. A different kind of notification this time. An unknown number. The message read, "This is the last chance to do it right." A cold sweat broke out on my neck. Do what right? Before I could even process the question, the sound came. The footsteps from the hallway behind me. Slow, deliberate, the sound of bare feet against the cold tile. This was it. The 9:04 mark. My script demanded that I turn around at 9:05, but this time, something in me snapped. No, not this time. I kept my back to the sound. My fists clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. "I know you're there," I said, my voice trembling but clear. The footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was heavier, more suffocating than the sounds had been. Then, a voice answered. It was a voice I knew better than any other, my own. "You said that last time too." An icy grip, fingers like cold steel, wrapped around my wrist and wrenched me around. And I was looking at myself, or a version of myself. He was older, his face etched with the weariness that went bone deep. His eyes were hollow, haunted. His hands were shaking uncontrollably, and the front of his shirt was soaked in dark, wet blood. "Every day," he whispered, his voice raspy and broken. "Every single day, one of us has to die. It's the only way. That's how the loop stays stable." My knees gave out, and I stumbled backward, catching myself on the edge of the couch. This couldn't be real. "I tried everything," he continued, a desperate plea in his eyes. He looked like a man who had exhausted every possible path. Killing myself. Letting it kill me. Running Hawaii. It doesn't work. The day just resets. My mind was reeling, trying to grasp the impossible reality he was describing. "What happens if no one dies?" I managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. A sad, bitter smile touched his lips. We already tried that, and just as he said it, the lights went out completely, plunging the room into absolute darkness. A profound, endless black. It felt like an eternity, but it must have only been a second. When the lights flickered back on, I was alone. The older me was gone. My phone screen glowed on the coffee table. 9:06 p.m. Then I heard it, a soft thud from behind me. The sound of a body hitting the floor. My blood ran cold. I turned, slowly, mechanically, dreading what I would find, and I saw him, lying on the rug. It was me, not the older, blood-soaked version. Not some injured stranger, just me, as I am now. His face was peaceful, as if he were just sleeping. My phone buzzed one last time. The final notification of the night. Reminder. Wake up. My eyes snapped open. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching dust motes dancing in the air. I was in my bed. I looked up. The familiar crack was there on the ceiling. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. There was a notification on the screen. Reminder set for 9:06 p.m. I don't remember setting it, but I know I will. Primera alwa G. Every night, it was the same routine. Ruta 117, the last bus home, pulling up at 11:58 p.m. On the dot, I worked late shifts at a small hospital in a quiet Illinois town, and honestly, a car just seemed like an unnecessary expense. The bus was always empty anyway. Almost too empty. It was always just me, the driver, and the dull, constant hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. For weeks, it was perfectly normal, even a little bit peaceful, until the night the driver started skipping my stop. The first time it happened, I brushed it off as a simple mistake. "Hey," I called out from the back, my voice echoing a little in the empty space. "You just passed Elm Street." But the driver didn't turn around. He didn't even acknowledge me. The bus just kept rolling forward, leaving my familiar street corner behind in the darkness. I stood up, annoyed, and started to walk toward the front. That's when things got strange. The bus slowed to a crawl, almost like it was fighting against my every step. The air grew thick and heavy, and a strange pressure started to build in my ears. That same feeling you get when you're deep underwater. It felt like I was wading through something thick and invisible. Every step I took felt like I was lifting a huge weight. I was only a few feet from the driver when he finally spoke. "You don't get off yet." His voice didn't echo like mine had. It was flat, heavy. It seemed to just sink into the floor of the bus. Before I could protest, the bus lurched and turned onto a road I had never seen before. This wasn't part of Route 117. There were no streetlights, no houses, nothing familiar, just a thick, swirling fog that swallowed the headlights, and tall, twisted trees that leaned in too close to the road. Their branches scraped against the windows, a sound like long fingernails dragging slowly across glass. The rhythmic scratching sent a shiver down my spine, and that's when I noticed them. The passengers. The seats hadn't been empty after all, or maybe they had been, just a moment ago. Now, every single seat was full. Men and women of all ages sat perfectly still, their hands resting in their laps, their faces bone-pale and waxy under the sickly yellow light. They all stared straight ahead, their eyes wide and unfocused. There was no movement, no breathing, no blinking. Just absolute, unnatural stillness. I tried to scream, but my throat closed up. The sound died before it could even form. A cold dread, colder than any winter night, washed over me. Then, one of them, a woman in the seat directly across the aisle, turned her head. The movement was slow, impossibly slow, with a faint, dry crackle like old paper. Her eyes, glassy and vacant, fixed on me. Her mouth opened, but not to speak. It opened wider and wider still, and she began to inhale. The air in the bus rushed toward her, a silent, violent vacuum. It pulled the breath right out of my lungs, dragging it from my body. I gasped, clutching my chest, my vision swimming with black spots. I couldn't breathe. My lungs burned, desperate for air that was being stolen from me. I collapsed back into an empty seat, my head spinning, the world going dark at the edges. Just as I thought I was about to pass out, the bus hissed to a stop. The doors swung open with a pneumatic sigh, revealing the night outside. The driver finally turned to look at me, and my heart stopped. His face, it was unfinished. It looked like someone had tried to draw a face, then erased parts of it, and just forgot to redraw them. Patches of skin were smooth and featureless. An eye socket was just a dark shadow. "This is where you get off," he said, his lipless mouth barely moving. I looked out the door. It was the hospital. My hospital, but it was wrong. The windows were all dark, voids. The cheerful sign at the entrance now flickered erratically, with half the letters missing, spelling out something garbled and nonsensical. A place of healing had become a monument to decay. I didn't want to get off, but my body moved on its own, stumbling down the steps and onto the cold pavement. The doors slammed shut behind me with a terrifying finality. As the bus began to pull away, its engine a low growl, I caught my reflection in the dark, grimy windows, and I saw myself. I was still on the bus, still sitting in that seat, my face pale and blank, my eyes staring straight ahead. Not blinking, the bus turned the corner and disappeared into the fog, taking me with it. The next morning, my coworkers said I never showed up for my shift. They were worried. They checked the security footage. The cameras showed the 11:58 bus arriving, just like always. They show the doors opening. They show me stepping off, but they do not show anyone walking into the hospital. I just vanish at the edge of the curb. Route 117 was discontinued the very next day. No official reason was ever given. When a local reporter looked into it, the transit authority had no record of a driver assigned to that route, or even a bus being dispatched. It was as if it never existed. And now, I stay home. I never go out after dark, but every single night, at exactly 11:58 p.m. I hear it. The rumble of a heavy engine, the hiss of air brakes. A bus is passing by my apartment. It never stops, but I know it's waiting. On my phone for a bit, then turn off the lights and go to bed. That night was no different. I fell asleep. And then, my eyes just opened. There was no alarm, no noise, nothing. I just found myself suddenly awake. I glanced at my phone. It was 3:33 a.m. The first 2 nights this happened, I just ignored it, figured it was a coincidence. By the third night, it started to feel strange, and by the fourth, I began intentionally checking the time as soon as I woke up. Every single night, it was exactly 3:33 a.m. Not 3:32, not 3:34, always 3:33. And every single time, one thing felt the same. The room would be completely silent, but it felt like someone was standing there, watching me. I'd hold my breath and strain my ears, listening for anything. But there was nothing. One night, I finally worked up enough courage to turn on my bedside lamp. I flicked the switch, and the room was instantly flooded with light. It was empty. Of course, it was empty. But as my heart rate started to slow down, I noticed my phone had a notification. It was a text message from an unknown number. It just sighed. "You're waking up too early." I told myself it had to be a spam message, a weird prank. I deleted it and tried to forget about it. The next night, it happened again. 3:33 a.m. But this time, I heard something. It was breathing. Slow, heavy breathing, right next to my ear, and it definitely wasn't mine. I tried to sit up, to bolt out of bed, but I realized I couldn't move. My entire body was frozen. Sleep paralysis. That's what I told myself. It had to be. Then it spoke. A soft whisper. "You're still waking up on time." My mind went completely numb. The voice. It was coming from right behind me. Then it said something that made my blood run cold. "Last time, you woke up at 3:34. Last time, what did it mean? Last time?" I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My throat was locked tight. And then, just as suddenly as it started, everything stopped. I jolted awake, gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs. I frantically looked at the clock. It was 3:33 a.m. The next morning, still shaking, I decided to check my phone's data usage. What I found was terrifying. Every single night, at exactly 3:33, my phone had unlocked itself. The camera app was opened. There were no photos saved in my gallery, which was strange. But then I checked the recently deleted folder, and there it was. A video. My hands were trembling as I pressed play. The video showed me asleep in my bed. But the camera angle, it was from the ceiling, as if someone was standing on the bed, looking down at me. The video continued for a few seconds, just my sleeping form. Then, right at the end, the camera slowly started to zoom in on my face. A voice whispered, the same voice from my dream. It said, "You woke up on time today. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat in my living room with all the lights on until the sun came up." And that's when I finally understood. I wasn't waking up at 3:33 because something was waking me. I was waking up because something was watching me, and I needed confirmation that I was still there. But I was aware of its presence. Last night, I woke up again. My eyes snapped open. I looked at my phone. It was 3:33 a.m. But this time was different. This time, my phone was already on, the screen glowing in the dark. The camera app was open, pointed right at me, and I wasn't alone in the frame.